So this PC over here is for people who say, do you know what, budget, no problem. I just want the best. The best photo editing PC, the best video editing PC for up to 6K, and it's so ridiculously powerful that it even shames the Threadripper Pro PCs, custom build PCs that are about 15 grand. You don't believe me? Check this on the screen over here. On the right side, we have our Puget Bench Premiere Pro scores, which is 1517, and then here on the other side we have a comparison of the Threadripper Pro 64 core, 2 NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti's, 2 GPUs by the way, 256 gigabytes of RAM, and a really expensive motherboard. The overall score is better. Sometimes the Threadripper Pro is better, but most of the time the things that actually matter, like the live standard playback, we are so much better. And if you really want to shame some Apple fanboys, then you could find the highest benchmark you can go for on Puget Bench for the M1 Max, and you can see that our PC over here is ridiculously better. It's not just super powerful, it's also super silent. It packs like tons of features. Even if you're a music producer or anything you do as a creative, it's got pretty much everything you want, like from Thunderbolt 4, 10 gigabit Ethernet, lots of graphics power, lots of CPU power, everything. So in this video, we're gonna roll back time, we're gonna build this, and then go through all the parts, why we use them, and some of the specs and things like that. And then in the end of the video, we're gonna look at some of the actual benchmarks. So we're gonna start with the motherboard. This is Asus ProArt Z690 Creator Wi-Fi motherboard, and this has got all the bells and whistles you will ever need. Absolutely amazing board. I've got a full video on my channel if you want to check out just the motherboard specs and why this is good and all sorts of things. We have Thunderbolt ports, 10 gigabit Ethernet, lots of M.2 storage, DDR5. Wow. In the center of this motherboard, we're going to be putting the Intel i9-12900K. This is like the best creator CPU in most of the cases for creators, especially if you're on 4K editing or doing less than 5K editing, then this is like the best it is out there. Now, you might have seen me talk about the Ryzen system that we just made recently, but basically if you are using only 4K editing, maybe 5K, a little bit of 6K, then this CPU is much better because the iGPU inside there has massive benefits when it comes to H.264 and H.265 encoding, decoding, especially when we're talking about H.265 422 encoding in Premiere Pro. It's smooth as butter. Now, for the SSDs in our system, we are using some very high-end SSDs. The first one over here, the top slot, we're gonna put our OS drive, and for the OS drive, we're using the Cardia Z440 SSD from Team Group. And this is a fantastic budget, but yet absolutely full packed of features SSD for your OS drive. It goes up to 2 terabyte in size. It's like 5.5 gigabytes per second read and write speeds, which is plenty. PCIe 4.0 drive, but the most impressive spec about this one is the terabyte written spec. So basically, every single day for the next 5 years, you can rewrite on this drive 99% of the capacity of this drive. So if it's 1 terabyte of drive, you can put in like 999 gigabytes of data every single day, delete it for the next 5 years, and you're going to be completely fine. But for most people, this is absolutely overkill spec, but yet you can't find anything better for the price. So installing this is super easy on these Asus boards because you don't have to have any screws. Just pop it in there, push it down, and then move the latch over, boom, and then voila, the SSD has been installed. And then now we're gonna have the project drives. We're using the Seagate Firecuda 530 PCIe NVMe drives. These are 2 terabytes in size, and you can get these up to 4 terabytes in size. Now, these, in my opinion, are the best creator drives you can get in the world because they have very high terabyte written spec, much higher than any of the Samsung drives that you have over there, which is 70% of the drive can be rewritten every single day, which is insane spec. They have up to 7.3 gigabytes per second read and write speeds, which is ridiculous, like absolutely insane. PCIe 4.0 drives. If you are a creator and you're looking just the very high-end drives, then these are the drives over here. Boom, push it down, move the latch, And there we go. Now this motherboard has actually 4 NVMe PCIe M.2 slots over here. And we're going to be occupying the third one as well. We're going to leave the fourth one empty. You can pop in there any drives you want. But on the third drive, we're going to put the same drive as our other project drive. So we have 2 Seagate FireQ to 530 drives. Absolutely insane ones. When you put these heat sinks back on the motherboard, make sure that you pull this sticker off, because then it's actually going to start to like take the heat from your hard drive or SSD, off, and then they're going to run much cooler. Just a little tip over here, when you're screwing down the heatsink on the Teamforce Cardia C440 drive that has this thick heat spreader, then make sure you're not going to tighten these screws all the way down, because you might actually bend the M.2 SSD. Just push down a little bit and then do a few screws so it actually holds it tight. You don't actually have to remove the Cardia heat spreader, because now you have kind of 2 heat spreaders. It spreads heat even better. So, but these FireQ drives, you can just screw them in all the way. You know, peel this off, line up the screw holes, and then let's screw down. And do the same exactly on the bottom drive over here. If you see any peeling things on the motherboard, it's probably best to peel them off now. Look at that beautiful ProArt motherboard. Next off, RAM. Okay, with DDR5, there's a lot of initial platform adoption issues. For example, with 4 DIMMs of DDR5, you can't actually run the XMP profiles. And you might be saying, hey Lauri, I saw you run the benchmarks with like 5200 MHz and 4800 MHz. And yes, that is true. Even though it technically completed the benchmark of, you know, any of the creative applications, when I've done through some of the extended testing, it doesn't quite pass the mark of a stable system. You're getting a lot of blue screens and it's not going to run stable. So if you want to have 4 sticks of RAM, be ready to not run any of the XMPs. Or if you want faster RAM, get 2 sticks and then run them in XMP that way. Basically, at the moment, there is no XMP for 4 sticks available, so I'd recommend you go with just 2 sticks. We have 64 gigabytes of DDR5. Now, this is Kingston Fury 5200 MHz CL40 RAM. Now, I know these are very, very hard to find, but it depends when you're watching this video, because obviously the supply of DDR5 is going to get better. Now, let's move on to our cooler. And this is where it gets really, really exciting. Check this out. A tower of fans and a cooler over here as well. We're going to be using this cooler from Fantex. This is the Glacier 1 360mm cooler. It's got a really cool AIO cover, which is going to fit right with our motherboard theme. You know, golden, we're going to make the RGB with that. But we're also going to be using these fans. These are Fantex T30 fans, and these are one of the best fans you can get on the market because they are very silent and very good airflow. We're going to be also using push and pull config on this AIO. So we're going to be using 6 fans on the radiator and then another few on the top of the case and then in the back of the case as exhaust. There is 3 fans already in here, but we're not going to use them. Oh, check this out. Look at this fan. It's like silver gray. One of the secrets of these fans is that it is actually 30mm thick, so it's much thicker than normal fans. It's got a chain over here as well, so you can chain them together, which is very helpful when we're putting like 6 fans over here and we're going to chain them all together so they all move at the same time. But also on the fan, on the back of the fan here, there is a little switch on the side over here where you can put different like modes of the fan. We have advanced, performance and hybrid mode. What we're going to be doing is we're going to just flick it to advanced because we're going to be controlling all of these fan speeds on the BIOS anyway. So I want this to be able to go to max speed when we want it to, rather than being capped on this. So we're going to have to move all of these switches. Now for our case, we are using something from Fantex as well. This is called the Fantex Eclipse P600A, and look at this beautiful accessory box that you get with it. By the way, all of Fantex cases come with really nice screw box. Look at this. It's all labeled and, you know, sorted. Well, not labeled, but sorted. That's very, very nice. We've got some hard drive bays over here as well. Big reveal of the case. Whoa, look at that. Oh, this looks like a Dark Knight. AIO. So basically this is combined like silent and performance case, because all of this front panel over here comes off, as you can see, and then you have airflow, really nice front panel mesh. It's like a magnetic thing. Look at that. And then now, boom, you have full on airflow of the case. Or if you want to have it silent, you can have it this as well, but that doesn't block all of the airflow. As you can see on this side, there is actually very big like ventilation going in as well. So if you want to have a silent case, then you can just pop this one back on, because there is like sound dampening on this side to make the PC silent. But I think this is going to be plenty of airflow from the side over here if you want to have it silent, because can you see this? There's no like intrusion over here or anything. And the same thing is on the top over here. The top panel works exactly the same as this one. So if you want to have a quiet case, you can. Also, if you see the glass panels, there's a really nice seal on the side over here and on the bottom, just to like kind of pack everything in, and so it's quiet. So the case already comes with 3 included fans. 2 in the front over here and 1 in the back. We're gonna have to take all of them off, because obviously our system here is gonna run a few more fans and a bit better fans than these what are included. Let's change the case fans. So now comes the tricky part of actually fitting this radiator inside the case. So next off, it's time to get the, you know, LGA 1700 mounting hardware out and get it mounted onto this Intel socket. So it's time to put the back bracket on. Okay, slot it into holes. There we go. Put these screws in. So it might be a little bit difficult afterwards. And let's screw the motherboard in. The interesting thing about this case is that even though this middle standoff is a nubbin, so it kind of holds the motherboard from not falling down, it's also a screw hole, so you can actually put a screw in there as well to get extra support in the middle. Now it's time to put the block in over there, but as you can see already in the box, my thermal paste over here has been damaged over here. And because this is quite an interesting layout of the CPU, I'd like to put my own thermal paste in there. Now, this is not like necessary if you do your build, but just because I can, and I think I can get a bit of a better application and better spread on the CPU, because the CPU is not a square, it's a rectangular now. We're gonna get that. So we're gonna clean this one off and then add a new thermal paste for this system over there. But the good thing is, inside the AIO case, there is actually thermal paste as well. When applying thermal paste, always better to have more than little. So I'm gonna do a little stripe and dots on the side. So that is plenty of thermal paste over there. Block goes in like that. Make sure you've got good pressure on the AIO when pushing these down, so that you're not lifting it up, so that you wouldn't ruin your thermal paste application. I'm gonna do these diagonals first to keep it down. Okay, these are in, and now these sides. Look at this big thick boy on the front over here. We have 60 millimeters of fans, because it's 30 and 30, and then what, about 30 millimeters of rad in the middle as well. So that's really, really cool. That's gonna put us plenty of airflow over here. Our graphics card's gonna get nice cold air in as well. Let's put this on as well, the AIO cover. Okay, clips on like that. Look, that looks really, really cool. The cool thing is it covers all those cables here so nicely, and it fits like perfectly inside those VRM sinks. The AIO pump over here, we're gonna put this into the gray CPU fan header, and then the RGB header I'm actually gonna put on the bottom over here, because then it just looks cleaner rather than on the top, because there's already too many cables coming out from the top. Now, before we're gonna put the rest of the fans in over here, what I wanna do is actually have some PSU custom sleeved cables. Now look at these ones over here. We used them on the X570 AMD build before, but we have one extra cable that you haven't seen before. Now, because this motherboard has a very special header over here, on the bottom of this 24-pin, there is another 6-pin PCIe cable for the front panel USB-C. See the USB-C that goes on the front panel over there? It can actually put out 60 watts of charging in there. So if you want to charge a laptop or whatever, it just comes out from there, which is absolutely like insane. I haven't seen this feature in any of the other motherboards, but we have lots of different cables over here. We have the CPU, GPU, ATX power, everything. Look at these cables over here. Let's do a little bit of cable plugging in over here. Nice, beautiful gold black cables. Look at them, absolutely awesome. And let's add our golden SATA cable as well. By the way, these cables are from Cable Mods, if you haven't seen that one. Cable Mods, you can customize them yourself. I designed these myself just to match our motherboard and all of this aesthetic build. Absolutely amazing. You can add them or have them as long as you want, and also together, so you don't have like lots of different cables. I wish there was an option to have like 24+6 together as well, but this is such a rare occasion where you have 24+6 pin cables like together, that they didn't have any of those like combs separately made for the, like, you know, what is it, like 14 cables across or something like that. If you have a GPU, for example, or CPU cables, they will be like linked together. For example, the CPU, you know, is 4+8, so they're all linked together rather than having lots of different cables. Just looks much nicer. Just check them out in the description below. Time to add a few last fans to the back and to the top. Now it's time to install our PSU. And for our PSU, we've got something absolutely crazy. What we have over here is Asus ROG Thor 1200 watt power supply, and this is platinum, 80+ platinum power supply, very energy efficient, but also it's got a little display on the side which is going to actually show out from this case over here. Here's all the cables. We have a power cord, some zip ties over here if we needed those, and then in the other box, whoa. Wow, would you look at that? All the cables for the PSU are actually already braided. Black, nice cables over here, individually braided. Super cool. Now that looks pretty decent over here. That's interesting. Some of the PCIe cables are slightly different. Then this is braided, but this is also sleeved. On the back of this PSU, we have obviously the on and off switch, but as well as the 0 dB fan, which we're gonna put on. If we don't need or use as much power, we're just gonna switch the fan off, you know, because it's just gonna be quieter. This is cool actually. The one PCIe cable that has only one end, for example, if you're running graphics card or some kind of peripheral that only needs one PCIe cable and you don't need like the splitter in the end like those other sleeve cables, then you can have this braided cable to run straight into your GPU, for example. It's going to look really good. So basically on the side of this PSU, on the left side, we have 2-pin some kind of cable over here. So we're gonna have to plug this one in over here to control the RGB from the motherboard. It's like the guts of the PC. So time to do a little bit of cable management. So here's my thinking. Plug in all the small cables first and then put the big cables over them and then tighten them down, basically so that the big cables hold the smaller cables down. So let's start. So, a new day, new hoodie, probably representing of this build, thanks Intel. We're gonna be putting on some panels now, but just to show you that this is probably one of the best cases to do cable management on. It's so nice to have all these straps over here, both to kind of like have two tubes going down. It's so easy to tie them down, to put the cables over there. The cable management goes really, really nice over here as well. The only thing that I would like to see in terms of cable management over here is a little zip tie like bottom, or like, you know, one of those things that comes off from the chassis, so you can put a zip tie around on the bottom over here to just tighten up these cables on the side over here, or push them somehow in. Look at this nice, it's like a gold coming down over here. We've got our gold and SATA cable as well from Cable Mods. It's so nice to get them all around on this side. But before we're gonna put the panels on, there is one main thing that we need to install in this case, and that is our graphics card. We are going with the RTX 3090. This is Asus TUF RTX 3090, and this is like the best graphics card you can get for any of the creative applications you can get. 24 gigabytes of VRAM, it's absolutely amazing. Just a little side note in terms of the pricing of this, probably it's gonna go for roughly $3,000 or so. You shouldn't be too worried about the scalper prices because, in my opinion, I think this card replaces the Titan RTX card, because the Titan RTX, if you remember, if you're familiar with PC parts, had 24 gigabytes of RAM, and that was like above the 2080 Ti. It was like a step up. And this is the step up from 3080 Ti as well, because the 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and it's got more cores and everything. And the MSRP for the Titan RTX was 2.5 grand, whereas this is 3 grand roughly now going for in different retail prices, sometimes even a bit cheaper. Then it's not a really bad value card if you think about the performance you're gonna get with this. It's gonna get much worse of a value card when you go lower cards, but we're gonna use this one because this is absolutely balls to the wall system. So when the slot covers are off, open up the top socket over here, it's gonna go in there. So basically make sure that this lines up with the holes over there, that this notch goes in the right place, and that's how simple it is. Slowly lift it in. There we go. That's installed. Now use the screws to screw it back into the case. Before we're gonna tip it the right way, I've already pushed our PCIe cables through the bottom hole over there. So now we're just gonna line this up with this over here and then push them into our graphics card. Okay, both of them lining up. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. Okay, this is looking very, very, very nice. Let's put the panels in from the front and to the top and then see if it turns on. I've got a power cord over here. Let's plug it in, push the power on, see if anything comes on. First of all, double checking. We've got cooling on, CPU power, motherboard power, GPU power, front panel connectors, fan headers. Okay, let's press the power button and see what happens. Let me turn it a little bit this way so we can see. Okay, wow. These fans can go super fast and they move a ton of air. Red is CPU, CPU okay, RAM, whoa. Super, super fast fans. 3000 RPM, that's insane. I might have to put them back to performance because I don't want them to go 3000 RPM. It's just too much power over here. Look at this, we've got a bit of RGB over here as well. I didn't notice that before. Look at this, it shows how many watts we're pulling. 122 watts. That's pretty cool. We could measure some stuff with this. That's a really cool little LCD screen over there. Let's see, is VGA okay? It might actually keep on there. Okay, see, and the red light, green light is on as well. That means that we have passed the post screen. We are on the post screen, but because we have no monitor actually connected over here, this is what it means. If white and green are on, it means we've passed it, it's all good. One last thing I want to mention is why we had double push and pull configuration in the front over here. If we put a radiator here in the front and put the fans in there, just one layers of fans, it has quite a lot of restriction through the radiator to push in a lot of air inside the case to keep all the other components cool inside, like give enough air to the GPU, to the VRMs, to the RAM, to other components that might heat up in the system. That's why we're putting two layers. Basically, they work simultaneously exactly the same, pulling through a lot more air, and this actually acts like a really good intake as well, even though our radiator is in between and getting cooled down. Next off, what we're going to be doing is putting on Windows, all the drivers, and configuring the software and making sure that this PC actually works properly, tuning the fans, configuring the RGB, putting all the drivers in, all sorts of things. So if you want to see that, check out for the next video. But we're going to be coming back after the next video and actually doing some of the benchmarks now here and showing you how well this PC works. Be right back. So it's time to have a look at some of the performance aspects of this PC. By the way, right now I'm running the Thermark GPU benchmark as well as Cinebench R23 in the background at the same time. So our graphics card is 100% utilized, our CPU is 100% utilized, and our noise levels right here on here will show about 45, something like that. And if you see over here, we can see that we're pulling 695 watts from the socket. So we're pulling around 700 watts from the socket, and the PC is super quiet. If you're wondering, oh, 45 dB, that's quite loud. But the noise room in this room is roughly about 40 or 35 dB. So the PC over here makes only about 10 dB of sound. Ambient temperature in this room is 21.8 degrees, as you can see over here. And now let's have a look at the CPU temperatures. What are the CPU temperatures like? These benchmarks keep crashing because they're like trying to get used to this new system, and so let's see if this is gonna stay over there. We're pulling about 234 watts to 35 watts from the socket, which is absolutely a ridiculous amount of power to push through. And our CPU temperature is 84°C. It's 22.4 degrees in this room at the moment. And bear in mind, all the panels are actually closed. Like the front panel, I could take this off and then let some airflow in as well. And the top over here as well, which would make the PC slightly louder, but the performance would be much better. As I can like see, this is already gonna go down now because the overall temperature inside the case is just dropping. The front panel doesn't actually make that big of a difference because there's massive gaps on the side. So I think in terms of thermals and quietness of this PC, it's absolutely fantastic. Now bear in mind, this is very synthetic benchmark, and you're not gonna see this in a real world test. You're not gonna utilize your graphics and CPU at the same time at 100%. It's just like not gonna happen. I just want to underline one more time what I said in the intro, that this PC as a video editing PC is just the best in the world what you can get right now. No Apple, no any other PC can just perform as good as this one over here. I'm not even sure if there's anything else that has reached so high scores. As far as I know, I've got like the highest score in Puget Bench database. Like, let me know if anyone else knows the highest scores, but this one is just ridiculous. As you can see on the left over here, standard overall score 1517. So that's with the latest Premiere Pro 22, and we're using, and if you look at the M1 Max with the 32 core and 64 gigabytes of RAM and like absolutely maxed out, it gets 1174, which is much lower. The standard live playback gets quite score to our score over here, but the rest of the stuff are much lower, like almost half as low. As you can see, standard FX score and GPU score are pretty much half of the points. And when you look at the Threadripper Pro, 64 core absolute monster with 2 GPUs, lots of graphics power, 256 gigabytes of RAM. We're still beating that system in like everyday use cases. Okay, some of the benchmarks are a little bit higher. For example, extended live playback score. That's when we reach like the 6K and 8K red raw scores, and I would expect that to perform better. But if you keep it under 6K, our system is just going to be better. As you can see, standard live playback score on the Threadripper is 167, whereas ours is 226, which just blows our mind. So the FX score over here is like CPU FX score. We're not far behind from the Threadripper. Our GPU score with just one 3090 is 111 compared to the two 3080 Ti's, which is 116. It's pretty much neck to neck over there. The standard export score is better on the Threadripper just because it's got like 4 times the amount of cores, so I would expect that. But at the same time, extended export score is better at ours because just the iGPU and the media engine encoders and decoders inside the iGPU just give us so much performance, which is just amazing. So let's run Cinebench R23 23, and let's see what score we're gonna get on the multi-score. At the same time, we're gonna be checking like the temperatures over here. If we're just gonna do a single test, we're just gonna hit about 77. Let's see if it goes any higher over there. We're pulling about 227 watts from the socket, 79. As you can see, if you do like single, like multi-core speeds or something like that, 81 we're seeing over there, it's actually very, very good performance in terms of the thermals as well. The pump and the AIO are super, super quiet. Like the pump noise, it's very high quality AIO, and it looks super, super cool inside there as well. So I'm super happy with that. We're getting a score of 27,281, which is right up there with anything, and it's exactly what we're supposed to be getting. So I'm happy with that. Now let's have a look at the SSD benchmarks that we have inside there. So I've done these tests before just to like save time, but here are some of the screenshots of the Cardia C440, that is our OS drive, and we're getting read and write speeds of 5,000 megabytes per second and 4.2 gigabytes per second write speeds, which are absolutely insane. When we look at the secondary drives, we have two Seagate FireCuda 530 2 terabyte SSDs inside there, which I think are personally like the top end, the highest of creator SSDs you can get. And the read and write speeds of the first ones are 6.9 gigabytes per second read speed and 6.8 gigabytes write speed. That's ridiculous. Bear in mind our drive is about 25% full, maybe a bit more. And this test probably isn't utilizing all of the speed. So if you want the best SSD, then this is it. Like, I don't think any software can actually utilize these speeds, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And the second one in there is on the lower one over there, and that's 6.6 and 6.8 gigabytes per second respectively, read and write. And last of all, we have the 2 terabyte Kingston SATA drive over there, the A400, which is 2 terabytes in size. And this is just normal SATA speeds, like 557 megabytes per second read speed and 517 megabytes per second write speed. We didn't want to put any hard drives in, even though you could put quite a few hard drives in there if you wanted to, but we wanted to keep this quiet and very stealth. So this video has been long enough, and not to make it even longer, I'm not gonna go in detail about whether you should get this one or the Ryzen 5950X PC. We're gonna make a separate video about that, as well as like the benchmarks of all the creative applications, so stay tuned for that. Or if you want to check out the timeline performance in Premiere Pro video editing for this PC, like up to 12K footage and how well does this do, then this video is coming out. Unless it's already out there, then I'm gonna leave it linked below. Every single part that I use in this PC, I'm gonna leave in the description below. So my friends, who's gonna sell the kidneys to get this one? I might go and sell mine now. So I guess we'll leave it there. Likes if you enjoyed it, subs if you'd like to see more, and I'll meet you in the comment section below. Bye bye.
You said sell kidneys.
Yeah.